All right, friends. So, breaking news dropping on three stories, actually, three breaking news stories that have serious implications. So, Joe Biden has changed his COVID vaccine timeline again. Again, he's changed it. I just, you know what? Set the bar just super low. Set it super easy. Set it by, hey, by August, we'll have everything done. But no, he's being ambitious. So now it's May. So remember, at first it was April, then June, then July, then August, and now it's May. So the Hill reports. President Biden on Tuesday said that the United States will have enough vaccine supply to vaccinate all American adults for the coronavirus by the end of May, crediting a stepped up process under his administration. Biden made the announcements while outlining a partnership between Merck and Johnson & Johnson to produce the latter single-dose coronavirus vaccine. So their competitors, he managed to talk Merck into helping Johnson & Johnson produce more vaccine because they weren't producing enough in order for Americans to be vaccinated on time. We're now on track to have enough vaccine supply for every adult in America by the end of May. When we came into office, the prior administration had contracted for not nearly enough vaccine to cover adults in America. We rectified that. Dude, you know what? Stop blaming Trump. Take the win. Stop blaming Trump. One of Trump's big faults was consistently sharpshooting at Obama. I know why he did it. However, you can't keep comparing yourself to the last guy. And not only that, if he wishes to sharpshoot at Trump, then he should also thank Trump for the fact that he has the opportunity to even have these vaccines. Because I'm old enough to remember that just a year ago, they said it would be impossible for Donald Trump to have a vaccine within a year. That dude had a vaccine rolled out in November. So, Joe Biden would not be in the position he's in now if it were not for Donald Trump, both his follies and his successes. And that's important to keep in mind. Every time Joe Biden references Donald Trump, I'm going to keep saying the only reason Joe Biden has access to these vaccines is because of Donald Trump. Can't have it both ways, guys. If you're going to sharpshoot Trump, then you're going to also have to give him credit where credit's due. But if you just ignore the orange man, let him fade away into obscurity, then you can take credit for current successes, saying, hey, you know how we told you August? Guess what? We think we're going to be able to do it by May. No promises. No promises, because crazy things can happen. Only 40 something percent of the people actually want to take the vaccine. So, no promises that all Americans will be vaccinated, but they'll have the ability to be vaccinated by May. And I think that would be the smart move. But Joe Biden's not a smart robot. He's not a smart cyborg. His programming won't allow for that to happen. The programming won't allow for him to say nice things about the orange man. But I digress. Biden stressed that Tuesday's development marked a significant milestone in the fight against the virus, but he cautioned that more work needs to be done in order to distribute the vaccine and inoculate much of the U.S. population. He highlighted his administration's effort to boost the number of vaccinators and locations where Americans can receive doses. So, vaccinators. We need more people to stab people with needles. It's not that hard. I mean, I could do it. You can ask a bunch of these people in the military who all have basic sharps training on how to. Well, actually, maybe not anymore, because when I joined the Army, they sent me through a course where they taught me how to do chest tubes and tracheotomies and resetting femurs and all this stuff. I don't think they really teach that so much anymore to like normal, like non-medics. So it's hard to say, but you can definitely run a bunch of competent soldiers through the training, because not to say that, the people administering the shots are not well educated, but I'm sure that you could probably get several thousand soldiers or sailors or airmen or whatever to be trained on how to administer the vaccine. Even if you have one nurse supervising 10 soldiers, basically the nurse prepares the vaccines, but then the soldiers give all the shots, and boom, there you go. That would be a way to streamline the process and accelerate the rate of which you administer the vaccines, right? And the government won't have to pay any extra money because they're already paying all these soldiers. Look at me, solving the world's problems. You're welcome, America. Oh my goodness. It could take much longer for the country to vaccinate the adult population given the logistical hurdles or of distributing and administering vaccines. Americans in states and cities, including Washington, D.C., have encountered challenges in signing up for appointments online. This goes to show that the government is extremely inefficient. Everything the government touches turns from gold to poop really quick. Uh, so these are the same people that you want in charge of your healthcare, folks. If you want government ran healthcare, if you want universal healthcare, this is what you want. And you see how inefficient these rollouts are, how these portals are running, how long it takes to get your appointment to get your jab. This is what you want if you want government ran universal healthcare. So be careful what you wish for. As someone who is in the military, government ran healthcare is horrible. I broke my wrist. It took them 3 months to figure out my wrist was broken. And at that point, they said, we can't do anything about it unless we re-break your wrist. When it takes 2 months to schedule an MRI when you tear your hamstring, it takes 2 months. At that time, it took 2 months to get into an MRI. At a certain point, they're just like, well, it's too late to kind of do anything. It's been 2 months. The muscle's already partially healed, so we can't even go in there to fix what happened. So now you're going to have to spend 6 months in physical therapy 3 days a week. And they're basically stabbing you with needles to break up all the scar tissue in your hamstring. It's bananas, guys. You want this government to run your healthcare? It's gonna be worse than the way Andrew Cuomo ran those nursing home facilities in New York. I will tell you that. Then he calls for the $1.9 trillion relief proposal, blah, blah, blah. So that's the update on coronavirus. I love to see this, though. Texas becomes the biggest U.S. state to lift COVID-19 mask mandate. And Gavin Newsom had the stones. The dude had the audacity to sharpshoot Texas. I'm sorry, but California is the most dead state from the coronavirus. They are responsible for the most COVID deaths. I understand they're the most populated state in the nation, but he ran that state into the ground. Restaurants are going out of business as he's going to $1,000 per plate restaurants. The dude is a walking piece of corruption. It's disgusting. But it's not as bad as corruption as my third story, and I'll show you that here in a second. But let's continue. Austin, Texas. Texas is lifting its mask mandate, Governor Greg Abbott said Tuesday, making it the largest state to no longer require one of the most effective ways to slow the spread of the coronavirus. Come on, guys. Really? Really now? Because you can make the argument that even in places where they have super strict lockdowns and super strict mask mandates, those states are doing worse than, say, South Dakota or Florida or probably Texas. So let's not put the cart before the horse. The announcement in Texas, where the virus has killed more than 42,000 people, rattled doctors and big city leaders who said they are now bracing for another deadly resurgence. One hospital executive in Houston said he told his staff they would need more personnel and ventilators. Which doesn't make any sense because it's found out that once you put people on ventilators, they tend to die. So I guess he wants more people to die? I don't really understand. Maybe he should try to find that magic juice that was squeezed for Donald Trump for him to recover from COVID in 3 days. Maybe we should do an emergency authorization for that Regeneron stuff as opposed to these vaccines, because perhaps instead of I guess you can do both. You can have your Regeneron for people who do catch COVID. That way they kick that sun gun in just days. And you still have the vaccine for those who either A, want it, because guess what? Not everybody can take the vaccine. There's people with autoimmune disorders, with allergies, and all this stuff. Or they're pregnant, or they're young, or this, that, or the other, and they can't take the vaccine. And that's fine. But then if you have this Regeneron stuff, I think that's what it's called, that Trump took, and in 3 days, he basically aged backwards 40 years because he was dancing on stage to the YMCA the next week. The rest of the country needs access to that, even if they have to pay for it. Like, I would pay for that. As opposed to, I mean, I've already had COVID twice, so I don't know if I'm going to have it a third time or fourth time or fifth time. This might be a yearly thing. I don't know. But people need to have options. And just saying, oh, well, we need more staff and more ventilators because this is going to kill everybody. That's exactly what they said about Florida. And that never happened. And he's doing it at a good time. He's doing it mid-March. It's going to be a nice 75, 80 degrees. Windows are going to be down in the car for a couple of months. It's going to be beautiful outside, folks. And it could very well lead to normalcy. It's not like people are going to be licking each other in the mouth in the middle of a Walmart. It's not like people are going to, well, perhaps in a bar, because it's been a year. People are excited to French again. Like, let's kiss a stranger in a bar. I guess that's what people are afraid of, but guess what? That happened before the pandemic, and that's going to happen forever. It's not like hospitals were overflowing with cases of mono. So I think Texas is doing the right thing, personally. I am probably biased because I live in Texas, and I'm super excited. I wonder how it's going to affect my business, but I think it's going to go well. It may negatively affect it, but I don't think so. Let's jump over to the third story. OpenSecrets.org is reporting consultants repping Saudi and the UAE interests, or Saudi UAE interests, partner with Blinken's old firm. That's right, folks. Secretary of State Antony Blinken's old firm is now partnering with the same Saudi Arabians, or the same UAE, that just bought millions of dollars worth of Raytheon missiles that now the Secretary of Defense used to sit on their board. It seems like there's a bunch of corruption going on in the Biden cabinet. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? Who would have thought if you would have put in an old corrupt president, a corrupt politician, as the president of the United States, that everybody else around him would also be corrupt? Seemed pretty straightforward, right? I've been saying this for months, and people said, nah, man, you don't know what you're talking about. The dude's not corrupt. Like, hey, everything. Tell me how you make money as a politician, how you make $250,000 a year, and that's overestimating. And now you're worth, $100 million. You can't tell me it's good investments. Screw off. All right, let's get to the story. But before I get to the story, actually, how about you smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and please go to notcensoredyet.com. Have a look around, and if you want to contribute to the site, there's a page called Donate. There's links available. Every little bit helps. We wish to stay independent, and we wish to provide you with an outstanding experience. Let's get to the story, folks. Well-connected firm that represents Saudi and Emirati interest is partnering with a consulting firm launched by top Biden administration aides as the U.S. tackles foreign policy dilemmas in the Middle East. Global advisory firm Teneo announced Monday it acquired a minority stake in West Exec Advisors, a consulting firm co-founded by Secretary of State Antony Blinken in 2017 that also employed Director of National Intelligence Avril Haines. Holy God, this also implicates the DNI. This is bananas. Honestly, this is the first time I kind of skimmed it, but I didn't really read it. You know what I mean? So I'm learning along with you. This is bananas. So now you have our Director of National Intelligence that's implicated in all this. This is too many personal business interests. We need to just get a bunch of stupid people and throw them in these cabinet positions, because I feel like stupid people would make more well-informed decisions than these individuals. I'm old enough to remember when they said Jared Kushner was too stupid, he was too inexperienced, he had no government experience, he's had no peace talk, he has had no treaty experience. But guess what? Guess who managed to do those Abraham Accords? It happened to be that weird kid who looked like Damien. So I'm pretty sure you can find somebody who everybody would say, well, that guy's stupid. He's inappropriate for that job. He'll probably be better than these people currently in these jobs. It's bananas. It's infuriating. According to Open Secrets' Foreign Lobby Watch database, Saudi Arabia's sovereign wealth fund paid Teneo around $3 million since 2019 to develop a strategic plan and conduct outreach for Neom, a proposed 500 billion city in the nation's northwest corner. To make room for the project, Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman is evicting thousands of tribal residents. A tribesman who criticized the government effort was killed by Saudi special forces in April. Of course they were. Last week, Haynes publicly released a report concluding that Ben Salman approved the 2018 killing of Jamal Khashoggi, a Saudi Washington Post journalist who criticized the regime. The Biden administration, which has paused arms sales to Saudi Arabia, sanctioned several Saudi officials allegedly involved in the murder, but did not directly punish the crown prince. Key members of Congress, including top Democrats, have urged President Joe Biden to take stronger action. Former Obama administration defense official Michelle Flournoy, I guess that's how you pronounce it, Flournoy. We'll say Flournoy. That looks right. That sounds right. I'm going to go with Flournoy. Managing partner at Westech Advisors will work with Teneo to provide best-in-class strategic advice to business leaders, according to a press release. Flournoy, who was under consideration for Biden's defense secretary, worked alongside Blinken and Hayes at the consulting firm. Together, they pulled in big contracts to advise corporate clients, including defense contractor Boeing. So now it brings in Boeing into the mix, and Saudi Arabia, and the UAE, and Raytheon is pulled into the mix. This is bananas, guys. This is too much corruption. This is bananas on so many levels. Foundations are another tool in the toolbox for these foreign governments are using to get more sway in America and Europe, Freeman say. They may be doing good work, but part of the reasons why they're doing it is because they can get recognition as a humanitarian provider and get people to ignore the shady things they're doing with human rights. The partnership between Teneo and West Exec Advisors indicates that high-profile clients continue to gravitate to former government officials with close ties to the current administration for guidance. It's bananas. So now you have the Times story basically saying, hey, we fortified the election to ensure Joe Biden got elected. And then you have all these foreign countries who, for some reason, cozied up to all these people that Joe Biden is now choosing to be in his cabinet. It's almost like people knew what was going to happen. Because even in that Times story, the mastermind behind the operation, didn't seem to panic on election night. He said, wait for the mail-in votes. It's like, bro, what do you know that we don't know? What do you know that we don't? And I guess the same question could be asked. What did these countries know that Trump didn't know? Why did they hire all these former Biden officials, all these former Obama officials, knowing that they will go into office when Biden goes into office? It's no different than the Hillary Clinton the Clinton Foundation that basically went out of business like a month after she lost the election. Her donations went down by like 80%. It was bananas. She was bringing in so much money from the Middle East and Russia and all these countries, right? All these corrupt countries were donating millions and millions of dollars to her foundation. And then as soon as she lost that election for president, all that money went away and the foundation went under because it was basically a front. It was a front for a pay for play. And that seems to be kind of what's going on here. But instead, they hire these people, and then as soon as they go back into the Biden administration, now they're awarding these multi-million and/or billion-dollar contracts to these arms manufacturers, into Boeing, into all these corporations that are now benefiting the UAE, Saudi Arabia, and basically it's just aligning people's pockets. I want to know what the kickback is. I want to know if there's basically a shell corporation that's getting paid on behalf of Antony Blinken or Lloyd Austin or Joe Biden or Hunter Biden. No one's heard from Hunter Biden. Apparently now he's writing a book. I've done a search. I cannot find Hunter Biden, and it is bothering me. It is bothering me that the corrupt son of a corrupt politician cannot be found. What is he doing? What country is he in? What's going on with America? I understand America's always been corrupt. It's been corrupt since essentially its founding, when I believe Alexander Hamilton basically rigged the election on behalf of George Washington. But it doesn't matter, right? I can control what's happening now, or I can maybe not control, but I can talk about it. I can speak my mind. Maybe I can influence other people to also talk about it, educate and all that, power in numbers. But I kind of lost where I was going at with this. But it concerns me that these corrupt politicians, they slip between the cracks and no one's reporting on them. No one's reporting about Hunter Biden, and it really bothers me. Does the FBI still have that laptop? There's a picture of him with like an 8-year-old girl in a bikini, and he's doing drugs. The dude has problems, right? I'm not gonna make any accusations, but the dude clearly has some issues. He needs to get figured out. And as he has issues, he's a threat to national security, especially if he's still on the take with China and Russia. Because guess what? At a certain point, Russia or China are going to come knocking on Joe Biden's door and saying, knock, knock, knock. Hey, if you don't bend over and allow us to cotton swab your butt, Mr. Biden, we're going to have to throw your son in jail because he's corrupt. And that's what's going to end up happening. All this corruption at the highest levels, and it's all tied to Biden. It's all tied to Biden, and everybody he surrounds himself with are extremely corrupt. And eventually, you're going to have to pay the piper, or however that saying goes. And it's not going to go well for America when that day comes, because guess what Biden's going to do? Biden's going to sell out that country before he sells out the quote-unquote smartest man he has ever known. So that's going to be it for today, folks. Unless the world really catches on fire, I'll see you all tomorrow morning. Have a good one.